I said when I started out a few weeks ago that for whatever reason, I see. I don't see how it's coming together. I see. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter what you believe. But I want to believe that there's good on either side, unless there isn't. There's good on both sides, or wherever you stand, and the unity of us all coming together. I can hear someone saying, and see what the end is going to be. There's going to be a transition time. There's going to be a transition season. But what side do you want to be on? What side do you want to be on? And it is not us who judges what should be or what should not be or what we think because of what we see. I believe, as Christian base, that there's one judge. And he's not down here on earth with us. Let me move a little bit further. Just one look. I'm reminded of the lawgiver, of the prophet, of the deliverer, and more, by the name of Moses. Moses. Let me look at this mic and make sure it's still lit. Moses and Aaron, of course, were responsible for helping to lead many people out of captivity under the direct leadership of God himself. There's a period of time, I don't know if Moses was up on Mount Sinai at this time getting the law or just in communion with the Lord God, but those very people got beside themselves and started complaining. And one of their complaints was the lack of water. Moses got the news and he saw how bombastic these people were. These people were. Now he's trying to get them to the promised land, known by us as Canaan or other names, but the land of promise on earth, I'll say, but Canaan. And all that he did out in front, him, rod and all, done awesome things, magnificent things, and yet the people weren't satisfied. They started to complain. And instead of blaming God, they was blaming him. So when they got to the place and they were complaining, where's the water? What's going on? Moses went to God. He went to the tent of tabernacle, him and Aaron. Aaron stood on the outside. Moses went on the inside. See, he trusted God that way. Yep, that thing that can't be categorized, itemized, synthesized, hypothesized. He went to God. Master, how shall we do? God said, he gave him instruction what to do. He said, go to the rock. He said, tell the rock to bring forth water, and they'll have water. Moses got back to the people, and bear with me and my folly and my paraphrasing, but I don't know what I'm going to do with y'all. I did this for y'all. I did that for y'all. Now y'all want me to give you water. Bam, bam. He hit the rock. He smote it. And the rock, it brought forth water. But God didn't like what he did and the way he did it. Moses paid a hefty penalty for that. We talking years. Weren't they, if I be not mistaken, Renee, weren't the people of Israel in the wilderness 40 years? 40 years. He was out in front, following, the cloud by day. Let me just muse that just a little bit. Yeah, it was a cloud. Yep. That thing that can't be categorized, itemized, synthesized. But I saw it. But let me get off of me. But following the cloud by day, and what some scholars believe is that same cloud on the other side was a fire leading them by night, leading them toward the promised land. But because of his intent. Because of Moses' disposition, he was only allowed to look over. God said, go up. Bear with me in this folly. You think God said you only get one look? He said, look, this is what they getting, but not you. I'm not allowing you to go over. But look, bear with me, those that are listening and kind of know the story. Remember one thing, though. He's not losing out. Because Canaan, remember how I started in the beginning? I don't know if it was this video because we had to do it another video, but Canaan on earth was just a foretaste, halakose, a foretaste of what was coming. You can't go with him. But he said, go up and take a view, and then you're going to die. So he didn't lose out completely, but he just wasn't going to be a part of the experience of Canaan on earth. Something else I want to bring up, I have in parentheses. Again, the subject is just one look. We're talking about sight, what you see, your dreams and visions and such. Is Jesus himself. One side of it, I just talked about Moses. Yeah, he did a lot. He obeyed God. He was a man after God's heart, kind of like David and so on and so forth. God loved him. When Moses asked, he said, I want to see you. He had that type of relationship. He said, God, I want to see you. And God said, well, I hear you. Bear with me in this folly. I feel you, but man can't see me and think they're going to live another day. But what I'll do, you see that opening right over there? He said, I'll take my hand and I'll cover that as I pass by. And God allowed him to see his hinder parts. But Moses had that type of relationship. But he messed up. I'm going somewhere. I'm going to get to where I'm going. He messed up. He wasn't totally left in the dark because he went to actual Canaan and not the foretaste Canaan. How about that? The other side of that, we have Jesus. Jesus, after 40 days and 40 nights of fasting, he was approached. I want to believe it wasn't in the 3D, 5D, 7D, 10D, whatever you believe. But I don't believe it was in the 3D. He was approached by Satan. Immediately, Satan approached him. He said, look! Let me give me a drink of water. Jesus. Those of us that fast, we got the alphabet fast, we got the Jeff fast, we got the Joe fast, we got the juice fast, we got... Jesus fasted 40 days and 40 nights. Nothing. No water, nothing. So in Satan's eyes, the devil's eyes, Lucifer's eyes, the antagonist of the brother's eyes, thought that Jesus was pretty undone and weak, and he would be able to overtake and overcome him. I will survive. I will survive. And he says, you see them rocks over there? He said, make them stones, them rocks, bread, and eat. But Jesus returned. There's somebody else I listened to on YouTube. He returned with his Uzi and he said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. He took him to another place, and it was up high. And I want to talk about the different elevations a little bit later and points of perception. But he took him up and he said, look, he said, if you be the Son of God, he said, cast yourself off of this place. And then the angels will looking for a way in, looking for a way in. Deceptive, the tempter of the brethren. And then a final temptation was, he took them high again. And he showed them all the kingdoms of the world. That's why I said it couldn't have been 3D. Couldn't have been 3D. And he says, if you bow down to me. Renee, was that just last week when I talked about selling the soul and stuff along those lines? And, you know, how you going to sell what's, you know, what you don't own and stuff like that. But if you bow down to me, then I'll give you all of this. And Jesus at that point just got beside himself and said, Satan, get thee hence. Well, Charles, what are you getting at? What are you getting at? Let me move a little bit further. Again, faith being the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Just one look. What I'm getting at is this. Those of us that have dreams that we look to accomplish or manifestations we want to see fulfilled, we've got to do it lawfully. Love has to be in place. Charity has to be in place. Due benevolence has to be in place. 2 Timothy 2 and was it 5 or 15 says that they that strive after the masteries must strive lawfully. 2 Timothy 2 and 5 is what it is, 2 and 5. 2 and 5. Another song came to mind at this point. Some of us, we dream of having the dream job, being the best on that job, the dream home, the dream life partner. Before I go a little bit further, something comes to mind. Remember I told y'all that, you know, that the time I saw the cloud, I'm not just bringing it up to be funny or, you know, to make a point. But the job I got at that time was Radio Shack. This was before the cloud or after the cloud. I think it was before the cloud. Radio Shack was before. So anyway, right. This was after the window treatment cover, y'all. A lot has been, look, hey, read the video, go back to the video, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, this was when I was told that everybody's not going to have a job. They're not going to be turned away from unemployment. This was during that period of time. And then on that Saturday morning, I was waking and I was told to go to this place and apply. Remember, I talked about that 79 Regal and so on and so forth. These aren't stories. These are facts. Again, can't be itemized, categorized, hypothesized. So while on this job, because remember when I got to the place, the second place, he said, be here Monday morning, 9 o'clock. At that job. And my first assignment was 116th and Halsted in Chicago. While working there, another associate, I was there as a manager trainee, but there was an associate there. He was a salesperson just like we were, but he found his niche. In Radio Shack at that particular time, they used to have boxes all over the place. You know, whatever the product was on the inside, they'd have 3D pictures of them and awesome pictures of those, whatever the contents were of what they were selling. And this guy, I can't call his name right now, would go around and get these boxes and he would create statues and towers, you know, in glorious patterns and figures and positions. And he'd stand back and he'd just look. Nobody did it like him. That's the other song that came to mind by Carly Simon. Nobody does it better. No one does it quite the way you do. Whatever we're involved in and want to be, there's some sacrifices you have to make. There's some things you need to find your place. People are going to say, nah, that ain't for you. Nah, that ain't. Nah, 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 nah. But when everybody's telling you, no, hey, Renee, I'm messing with you. Call Renee. She can categorize it. She can itemize it. She can synthesize it. Call Renee. She can do it. And she fixed computers too. Call whatever his name. We just got a shipment in. He'll get the boxes in order and they'll be presentable. Just one look. Just one look. I was talking about elevation. Those of us that are looking to manifest certain things in our lives, or certain ones in our lives, or certain places in our lives, in order to get to those places, sometimes you got to let go of some stuff. You got to rearrange some things. You got to remove some things. You know, there was a period of time, sometimes if I know increase is coming, or I'm looking by faith for something to come, I'll go through my drawers and I'll pull stuff out that I don't wear anymore. I'll pull things out that have just been sitting there stagnant. Just to get it out of the way and replace what was old, waiting for, you either replace it with new or you're moving stuff out of the way to get ready for new. Something just popped in my head. I remember, and I talked about this in one of the videos, where in our household there wasn't much food. Everything was empty. The cupboards were empty. The refrigerator was empty. But Mama, she heard the word to set the table. She probably did like me when I woke up and said, put this towel, put that on, and go to this place. Like, who goes to look for a job on Saturday? Who does that? But Mom did it. She set the table. You know, it was during a period of time when we as families used to eat at the table. Mom had us eating at the table. Wasn't no eating in our room, at least then. Wasn't no eating at trays, at least then. We ate at the table. And she got the call. And that person said it was laid on their heart to bring food because they felt like God was saying that you had a need. So by her being obedient and setting the table, God supplied the meal for us that night. Let me move a little bit further. Just bear with me in this folly because I wrote it down, so I'm just going to say it. Because another song came to my mind when I saw it. I don't care if it is that you can just make grits better than anybody else. They're asking you the question, what is it about your ability to make grits? What is it? And the song that came to mind is just a touch, a love, a little bit. I'm just telling y'all what I wrote down because that's what I heard. Just a touch. Just like I saw it in my dreams is another thing that came in mind. Talk about just one look. Remember that fireman I talked about on different occasions? His name is Chris. And many times I would do the tear outs for homes he was remodeling. I'd go in, tear down kitchens, tear up basements or whatever to get it ready. And once I would clear up the space, he'd come along because he usually wouldn't be there while I'm working. Because if he was there, well, I'd probably prefer he wasn't there anyway. Because once I get into something, I get into it. You know, I'm tearing it up. I'm moving. I don't take breaks. I stop when the job is done. So there have been several occasions when he come back to a job that we were working on together. And he'd look at the place. And he'd say these words. He'd say, just like I saw it in my dreams. I look over at him. All I see, y'all, is concrete floors. All I see is empty walls. You know, because I removed cabinets and ain't nothing there. But he come in and he look up and he look around. He said, just like I saw it in my dreams. And then he look over at me, y'all. And then he said, you see it? And I look down, look around while I'm doing this, wiping sweat away, catching my breath, because I just put all in to clean the place out. And he asking me, do I see it? So I'd say, I see what you see. Woo! How can two walk together except they be agreed? One of the things I mentioned earlier, collaborations. There must be balance. There must be love. Otherwise, how could we work together like we have many times over the years? And then another thing I wrote down, I know some of it seems like Swiss cheese as I'm presenting it to you, but I'm just going along what I wrote down, and I'm hoping it's, putting some things on your mind. The other thing I wrote down is beware of heaven on earth. Those of us that have mind to start businesses and have these homes and these jobs that have all type of benefits out the wazoo. One of the things I wrote down is beware of heaven on earth. As I said about the people of Israel headed towards Canaan, that Canaan was just a foretaste of what was to come. It was their heaven on earth. But it says, beware of heaven on earth. Be weary about how we build. Some of us, we get beside ourselves and nobody can tell us nothing because we got everything we need and everything we don't, and anything we don't want is nowhere to be found. But I wrote down underneath beware of heaven on earth is leave room for dessert. In being careful how we build, look, y'all, whatever God prospers with or blesses us with, it's just a foretaste. Leave room for the dessert. There's something coming on the other side that will outdo and outlive whatever you have established for yourself. Watch how you build and leave room for dessert. Can you imagine sitting down to eat? It's Thanksgiving. Some of y'all we call it sweet potato pie. What do others call it? What is it? What is it called? Sweet potato pie. I want to say yam, but other name for sweet potato pie. You got cobbler. You got a bunch of sweet things. But don't be so focused on the main meal that you forget about the dessert. Don't make that woman, your life partner, your God. Don't make that home that you finally got. You saw it and you went after it. Just one look, that's the house I'm going to have. Just one look, that's the person I'm going to have. Just one look, that job is mine. Leave room for dessert. There's more God wants to do for you. And then finally, as I said before, all that you gain, have a focus on receiving it lawfully. Don't be stepping over people's head and whopping people like Moses did that rock. He that strives after the masteries must strive lawfully. 2 Timothy 2:5. Let me move a little bit further. One of the things I mentioned on this page is, we want God to use us. Sometimes we get beside of ourselves and we get proud. Can't nobody tell us nothing. Same thing along the lines. Leave room for dessert. Another song came to mind is How Do You Like Me Now? Pretty proud. Pretty proud. It's a country song. Toby Keith. He said, yeah, I was always the crazy one, broke into the stadium. And I wrote your number on the 50-yard line. You was always the perfect one and a valedictorian. So under your number, I wrote, call for a good time. I only wanted to get your attention, but you overlooked me somehow. Besides, you had too many boyfriends to mention, and I played my guitar too loud. How do you like me now? And so on and so forth. Proud. Proud of our accomplishments. Proud of what we do. Proud of our appearance. When I think about myself, look, because one of the things came to mind, people starting to see me communicating on YouTube, and they looking at me, and some of them probably wonder where to get all that confidence from and all of that. Ain't none of that. I'm going by life experiences, what I know God did for me, and all of that. What about your appearance and all of that? Look, I'm not the flashy one. In fact, I shun attention. I remember, Renee, growing up in school. I know I didn't do my first natural and spiritual. Y'all just get it all in between because I'm nearing the end now. I remember growing up in school throughout history. I guess maybe that's why I don't like school so much. I didn't talk too much. I kind of stayed to myself. I was probably a little bit more colorful in my fashion then because of mama. But one thing I didn't like is I don't like attention. A teacher comes up, hey, hi, how are you? How are things? And I feel myself being put in front of the sun and all rays are shining on me and I'm ready to go in a hole somewhere and just crawl up. Yep. That's just too much daylight for me. It's almost like, like the heat from the sun starting to burn. Too much! I don't need all of that. Some need that. Some need that. But what I will say is when I see other people that are colorful that way, open that way, flamboyant that way, I'm trying to keep from saying negative words, I can appreciate them. Those that are very communicative, outspoken, can talk to anybody. I admire them. I admire those. I admire the dress. I remember telling someone I was walking with them, I was like, I'm proud to walk with you. They looked at me kind of funny because they presented themselves so well. Everything fit them well. But I'm just not that way. And what I do when I see that, I see a color that fits a person, that works for you. Or I see clothes that fits you. I'd rather be on that side than the daylight on me. But that don't mean I don't care. That don't mean I'm not paying attention. I want to be the ones behind the scene. But when the time comes, they put the key in your hand. I'm being funny here. They put the mic in your hand. Now we got something. But when it's done, when it's all said and done, then I'm going to go back in my corner and sit down. That's me. But you stay bright. You stay brilliant and airy and confident and proud. I love seeing you that way. And also I can learn something. Just one look. Whatever it is that you see, wherever you see yourself, I don't know, hours from now, years from now, days from now, and you're looking to manifest, you move with intent and on purpose. Something else just popped in my mind. I remember, I'm getting ready to close. I remember when I used to sell memorial plots. Yep. I used to sell memorial plots. Yep, sure did. Cedar Park Cemetery in Chicago. And at the time, it was an emotional sale because they were selling these. They weren't crypts, but they were some type of metal enclosure that your loved one could be housed in. Therefore, they would stay dry while underground. I remember pitching my mom and dad. I sat down and, I said, look, y'all, I need to practice my pitch.